Mr. Speaker, well, yesterday, Mr. Speaker, we learned that from the Daily Gleaner that the Kekimin Wolastoqey Language Immersion School that was established by Lisa Purley-Dutcher can no longer offer full days of classes after the province cut funding that they used to hire staff. Well, Mr. Speaker, how much are we talking about? Are we talking about a grant of millions of dollars? No. Hundreds of thousands of dollars? No. We're talking about a grant of $85,000, Mr. Speaker. That's it. It was cut by $50,000, leaving them with, well, $35,000 to work with. So they had to go to half day. Mr. Speaker, the Wolastoqey language is on life support in this province with fewer than 100 fluent speakers remaining. Can you imagine? Will the Premier ensure that the Executive Council provides that additional $50,000 so the school can hire staff so once again they can offer full-day classes in Wolastoqey immersion?
Minister responsible for Indigenous Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. And while I know that folks are disappointed with respect to the reduction in the amount of that grant, it's important to note that that grant actually is accessible through ELG. It's not through other departments. And ELG actually receives a lot of applications, actually hundreds, I would say. And one of the requirements when they look at these grants is the breadth and the reach that the outcomes will have. And unfortunately, in this case, it met some of those requirements, but not all. The other thing I would add with respect to the preservation of the language, I'm very proud to say that in working with EECD and the 10-year plan that they actually have as part of their strategy accessibility to intermediate as well as advanced and initial language learners for the Wolastoqey as well as the Mi'kmaq language. Thank you.
The member for Fredericton-South and Leader of Party.
Well, Mr. Speaker, with fewer than 100 fluent speakers remaining, every person who becomes fluent is a gain. Mr. Speaker, this government could be far more helpful in supporting efforts to protect and revitalize the first languages of our province, Wolastoqey, Pescatawakati, and Mi'kmaq, as has been done in Nova Scotia. That province, proclaimed legislation last July to recognize Mi'kmaq as Nova Scotia's first language, July 17th, to support efforts to protect and revitalize the language. Mr. Speaker, in a province that is internationally known, as New Brunswick is, for its commitment to pursuing the substantive equality of the English and French languages, surely this government can make the protection and revitalization of the first languages a priority as well. Will the Premier introduce a First Languages Act that would commit government to work closely with First Nation communities and organizations to develop and support a First Languages revitalization strategy in our province? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister responsible for Indigenous Affairs.
Once again, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. I want to reiterate the fact that our relationship with First Nations in the province is extremely important. We also recognize, excuse me, that's not very nice. We recognize the importance of the language preservation as well. And what better way to implement that within our actual curriculum, within our school systems? That ensures that every single child in this province who actually wants to partake in that opportunity can. I'm very proud of that. And also, I would say, with respect to the organization and the grant that you were referring to earlier, there's actually a submission into the government right now for about $495,000. We're hoping that there's going to be a positive outcome with respect to helping them reach that goal in terms of fundraising and move into their new school. Thank you.